Hi everybody. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I unfortunately am one of those people who is kind of always just a little behind schedule. So when I say 6:30, I probably really mean 6:35. But I'm here now. And I was just getting my notes together, so I guess I'm ready to start. Let me just welcome you first to this week's Tuesday Night Art Chats. I'm Emily Gillespie. If you're not familiar with me, I'm an artist in Central Florida. I've been making art for over a decade now, and one of my greatest passions is cheering on other creative people. These art chats are the place to come for discussions about creativity, artistic empowerment, and encouragement. I'm so glad you're joining me here. Today I wanted to talk to you about the pros and cons of two different types of creative learning: attending an in-person workshop or following along with online videos. Analog versus digital. This topic was something we covered in Jeanne Oliver's workshop this last weekend. I was there with my mom for her final workshop at her home and studio for an expressive abstract workshop. And if you have ever taken a course with Jeanne before, you know that there's not just art that goes with it. There's discussion and conversation, lots of lifestyle stuff, maybe a little bit of creative philosophy. But this subject stuck with me, and I made notes about it while I was there, but it's something I wanted to explore a little bit more. So I wanted to take the time today to do that. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last 20 years, you know that the world is becoming more and more digital every single day. I don't know about you, but I'm an old-fashioned analog girl at heart. I do try to embrace technology, but sometimes my brain just doesn't work as well when I'm looking at the screen. I prefer paper, handwritten notes, and a to-do list that I can hold in my hand. There's nothing wrong with preferring one over another. Both ways of learning and operating are valid. But the conversation at Jeanne's workshop centered around the idea that attending an in-person event can actually be an act of bravery in this online world that a lot of people live in now. It's so easy just to send a text message or an email or a DM. You can shop online. You can get library cards online. You can vote by mail. It has actually become very easy to not have to go out and interact with others. So being intentional and purposely going out to do that, to interact with people face to face in a personal setting, that is an act of bravery. For some of us, like my generation and older, I'm part of the last group that grew up without computers. We remember life before the internet and digital everything. So we are still used to dealing with people in that in-person kind of way. The younger generations, from what I hear, don't operate and think that same way. Anyway, so if you are going to a live workshop or retreat or really any kind of event, you might not know anyone else there. You might be in an unfamiliar location. You might have traveled a long way. You might be by yourself. In some situations, you're in a different country and you don't speak the language. you might not be familiar with the subject matter that you're learning. It might be a new topic, and even if it's something you want to learn more about, you're still, you might feel like a fish out of water compared to the other people who are more proficient in that thing. And really, it takes guts to show up in an awkward situation like that. And that doesn't even take into account the vulnerability that's required to share your personal work, your artwork, your thoughts, your creativity, sometimes your innermost feelings. So it really does take a good deal of backbone to put yourself in that kind of situation where you don't know quite what to expect. Also, a live event is going to most likely be an important experience or milestone in your creative growth. You'll have the opportunity to make new connections, to build relationships. You'll be face-to-face with your fellow students and your teacher, and you'll be able to engage with them for guidance, inspiration, and feedback. Being at an in-person event also obligates you to do the work. You would think, why would you attend something like that if you aren't going to do the work, or the exercises or lessons or whatever the class is covering? If you're already there, why wouldn't you? Having that structure, I think, and having the facility, the space, the materials you need, that kind of, and the time, that kind of just creates a perfect situation where you can really take advantage of the time you've set aside, to learn and grow. And here's where the contrast with online learning begins. Think about how different that is from just watching a video online. Watching a video doesn't compel you to actually go through the creative process. There's a really big difference between watching the lesson and following along, or carrying out the steps. There's also a convenience penalty, I call it, for online learning. The videos are accessible, they're easy to find, they're easy to replay, and that's a wonderful gift, but it's also a burden. The fact is that sometimes it's so simple to access them that it makes it really easy just to build a collection and accumulate lessons and classes that you want to do someday. When you do that, you end up with a whole bunch of stuff that you own, and you don't really own it because it's digital. It's not tangible. It's not really there. So you own it, but you don't utilize it. And that doesn't make any sense. There's thoughtless consumption there without action. And as a result, you never do the lessons and you never learn the techniques or become more proficient by practicing. That being said, I do it too. I'm super guilty of that. So no judgment coming from over here. Online learning also limits the engagement and relationships that you can build with other people. Social media is a wonderful tool, and it's great for allowing us to make connections with others, but it's not a replacement for personal friendships. It can lead to them, and I have seen that happen many times. I've connected with people online and later met them in person and developed a relationship that way. But there is something different about meeting people face to face and knowing them in person than just being connected online. That's very, very different. Finally, the last thing is that learning online is entirely self-directed. There's no kind of accountability. No one's checking your progress. No one is following up to see if you need help. They're not, they don't even know necessarily that you're doing the lessons. And so there's no one there to cheer you on either, which I think is really important. That's a big aspect of interacting in person that is missed when you're just working online. So I wanted to also share some of my own experiences with you based on this. So if you don't know, like I said in the introduction, I've been making art for over a decade. I started painting and creating back in 2012. So for the first, probably maybe 8 or 9 years that I was painting, I only ever did online stuff. I enrolled in lots and lots of classes through Jeanne Oliver's network and others. I watched YouTube videos. I connected to others through Facebook groups and online communities. I never really allowed myself to even envision going to an in-person art event. And I think that was a lot to do with the fact that I had some really limiting beliefs about myself and my creative abilities. I didn't feel like an artist. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like my work was valid. I worried about doing things the right or wrong way. I was afraid that I would be ridiculed for my lack of knowledge or not executing techniques correctly. The list goes on and on and on. But in 2021, actually, let me backtrack. In 2020, my mom finally talked me into going to our very first art workshop together. And she had never been to one either, so it was going to be an adventure for both of us. So we made plans to go out to Colorado to Jeanne's home and studio to do a workshop. And then, as I'm sure you know, 2020, COVID happened, and everything shut down, and that plan just didn't work out, unfortunately. So fast forward to 2021, we tried again. We got into one of her courses, her workshops, and I was so apprehensive about all the things I just talked about. But when we walked in the door, it was just so much of a welcoming environment, supportive, honoring everyone's creativity, and really I had no idea what I had been missing out on until I actually experienced it. It enabled me to transform some of those online relationships into real life friendships. I am more confident now in my creative ability, and I don't feel as anxious about sharing my work in public as I used to. So, you know, it was an obstacle for me in the beginning, but attending in-person creative workshops has actually kind of transformed my perspective and the way I see myself creatively. And I think that's, you know, a really good possibility for other people too. Sometimes you just have to step out of your comfort zone and just do the thing, even if it's scary, because you never know what wonderful results will follow. So my goals for the future are to keep attending creative workshops and events. I want to work on building community, and most importantly, it's shown me that I really am passionate about creative community. I want to start doing my own teaching events, whether that's in person or online, or both. And really my goal is just to try and reach other creative women where they are, so I can encourage them and build them up, lift them up, and show them the beauty and gifts that they have within them. We've covered the benefits and drawbacks of a couple of different methods of creative learning. I told you about my experience and what I hope to accomplish in the future. Where does that leave you? I don't really have an answer. You're going to have to take those, all the thoughts that I've shared today and decide for yourself what works best for you based upon any given situation. The big question that it comes down to is this: what will nurture the fruits and gifts that the Lord has given you? Think about that. That's all I have for tonight. Remember that my art chats now are happening twice a month instead of every single week. Make sure that you're on my mailing list to get updated about the schedule for each month. You can go to emilyjaleski.com to sign up. That's the same spelling in my Instagram username here. And when you sign up, you'll get access to studio news, inspiration, and peeks behind the scenes that I don't share with anyone else. So I hope this has been helpful, and as always, let me know if you have any thoughts or questions. Leave a comment or send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you guys. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you again in March. Bye!